Catcher glove, slow to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win. What a dream beginning to the career of Jay Bruce.
Well. Welcome into the final edition of Chatterbox Reds in 2023. We do have a guest because this is the season of giving, and we're going to give the airwaves to our none other friend, Charlie Walter, here in a minute. We have Nick Kirby as always. Men, I just got back. I was rushing to get back from a grueling 7U basketball game where your host was the coach, and I got to be honest, we took one for the team. We allowed all the kids on the other team to have a very good holiday season because we got absolutely pounded. And when I tell you, I just sat there on the bench helpless. That's how I feel, like probably David Bell does at times, perhaps, when he looks at his lineup card on a Sunday in Oakland, but I digress. Nick, Charlie, I hope you're doing well. The holiday season's treating you just fine. You both come from areas that really the winter wonderland you would like to think would be right around the corner. So how are you guys doing?
I'll start us off, Kirby, as the guest. I'll introduce myself. It's good to see you guys. 7U, Trace. You're sitting on the bench. There's not much you can do there. 7U, you can't change your defenses, right? You can't do anything. You can't press. I know that. So
no, can't
it's just
press.
Straight up man-to-man. Maybe you could have thrown a 2-3 at them and,
Nope,
seen
can't play zone.
You can't play zone. So, yeah, there's nothing you can do there. You just sit there and let the other team score as you have less talent. My evening was worse than yours. I promise you that. Was driving home from work, actually hit something on the highway, 355 in Chicago. Very cold. Weaving in your little segue there. Popped a tire on the spot. Had to get towed to the tire shop. Will say, though, it took me out $400, but it only took 45 minutes. I made the show in time. This happened like 2 hours ago, and here I am, ready to talk some Reds. Kirby.
Wow.
I've just been doing laundry. Nothing, not nearly as exciting as you guys, but excited to be here nonetheless.
Well, there's two things that come to mind here. I know we're going to get into some serious baseball talk in just a moment here, but one thing I want to get out of the way first is obviously Charlie's with us. If you don't know Charlie, he probably doesn't need an introduction, but if you don't know Charlie, you probably maybe even seen him back in the day on, I don't know, I guess it was Fox Sports Ohio. I'm not sure what the actual channel was at that point. I don't think they switched to Bally at the time, but he was doing some Reds pregame and postgame there, some Reds Live, I think is what they still call it. And anyways, he hosted that for quite some time, went out to San Francisco, got tired of living in the beautiful weather there, so he moved to Chicago, and now he's surrounded by a bunch of Cubs fans. Maybe they're White Sox fans, who knows, but nonetheless, he reached out, said, you know what, I love the Reds, I love the Bearcats, and he's got another guy named Houdini, who's also a funny cat. They do the Chatter and have a podcast on our platform. And you can check it out for yourself with Chuck and Houdini, the Chatter.
Oh,
Trace. Look at that. And that isn't all me. Let me tell you something. You're going to give me credit. I don't need credit.
No. Forget that. Everyone makes me plural. That was Charlie Walters. Come on now. There's no S in the last name. It's Walter. It's just me. I'm singular.
You're just singular on singular. Who knew? Anyways, point being is that I'm not getting the bus ran over on me on that one. I'm telling you that is Nick. He's running the graphics. That's all him. Oh, there it is. It got fixed just like that. Anyway, they have the Chatter. Check it out. They also have Chatterbox Bearcats. They go live after every single game, and I'm sure it's been enthralling because they've only had two really what we would call big games this season. But we won't really get into that because it's Reds baseball, and I think that's a little more fun to talk about. But I just rambled for quite some time to get to the point. That is, we need a new intro. We will have that. When Nick's full-time for about 2 weeks, I think. He's going to have to be the engine that kind of gets us over the hump.
I love that intro, man. I love that intro. I've never heard it with the headsets on, ready to go on, not post-game. I'm sure it's a lot more electric post-game as Trace is getting ready to shotgun a Miller Lite. But, I mean, just hearing that, it gets me excited in the dead middle of winter, A. But, B, the calls, Tom had some big calls, but instead of the 7 home runs in his first, whatever games,
First 10 games.
I want the, you know what I'm going to say? I want the Aristotle. I want that call. Dig that out of the archives, Nick. Put that in there because that was electric.
Well, Trace's first words he ever says to me is, "You better not like Aquino." And I do like Aquino, so I couldn't put it in there. I was afraid. I was afraid of Coach Fowler.
Oh, now it's going to be Trace the bully. He's making Nick not show it. Anyways, all right, Nick. 2023 season recap. Obviously, Chuck, jump in as much as you would like here. We ultimately are going to lean on Nick to run this show because when he sent me the text, I thought, you know what? It is the last show of the year. We got people asking us to do a show, but I got to be honest. For a guy like me, I'm sitting back. I'm looking at all these rumors. I'm trying to get in the Christmas spirit here. I can't get excited about anything because everybody has something about everybody. There's so much fluff out there in the world that is the MLB trade rumors. I don't know who to believe, and I'm not going to believe anything until I see it. So until I see something actually happen, I'm not going to get excited. Maybe you're saying that's not fun, but I mean, I guess. Do you want to talk me off that ledge, Nick, or are you going to say that's the right approach?
No, it's been miserable trying to follow anything. And I have a theory. So X.com, it pays people that are, you sign up for the, what do you call it? The
premium.
The premium. And they get paid per the engagement. So I think that these national writers are fluffing some of these stories up, throwing a little extra out there because they want to get the engagements up. And I think that's making it a little bit more miserable. It almost feels like a political season, like trying to follow the offseason.
Chuck, have you seen anything that's actually got you excited? Are you the excited guy, or are you the one that just doesn't care about any of it?
I've seen a bunch of hypotheticals. I mean, I was telling you in the pre-show, I think I've seen 5 different players from the Blue Jays potentially projected in a Jonathan India trade. I'm looking at Tim Meza. Never heard of him. Maybe Maeza. 69 relief appearances in 2023 nice. And a 1.52 ERA. Lefty. I'll take it. Not fond of trading India. I think you could potentially pencil in an outfield position, but in terms of the offseason rumors, I'm just expecting Dylan Cease to be a Red. I'm expecting Meza to be a Red. I'm expecting Alek Manoah to be a Red. The list goes on and on of people.
Valdez, he just came up.
Yes. Yeah, that could be potential Cincinnati Reds, but Cease is one that I'm keeping an eye on. That would intrigue me. I'm afraid that it could be a potential, Ubaldo Jimenez situation when Cleveland made the trade for him, and it was immediately downhill from there because Cease's trajectory is down. He doubled his earned run average in less innings last year, doubled his earned runs, I should say. So I don't know how that would excite me with some of the prospects that were thrown around in that deal. Rhett Lauder and it was Lauder, and who was the other one that was mentioned? It was Chase Petty in that deal. So there's nothing right now that seems like a slam dunk for Cincy, but that's definitely the one that's intriguing to me.
Fair enough. Chat, as always here, you're more than welcome to chime in. We are on the internet. We are live streaming, but it's very, very difficult if something breaks that we see it in real time. I do see someone that just said that there was a Heyman bomb. Now, how much we want to put stock in that, I don't know, but I'm gonna keep digging and making sure I don't miss anything. Nick, as far as a recap goes, do you want to start? Where do you want to start? Obviously, the offseason for 2023 has been a dud. Okay, it's been a dud. Outside of Shohei Ohtani taking the world's most ridiculous contract, nothing else really has really happened. I mean, I know. Don't get on me, everybody. I get the Reds have made some moves. I'm not trying to downplay those moves. They might be awesome moves, great moves. But there really hasn't been a lot of big hitters coming our way yet. I would expect that to happen in the next few weeks. But where do we start this show, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I think from the Reds' perspective, I feel like the Reds have done a lot more than most teams at this point. So if you think it's boring as a Reds fan,
imagine be the Cubs. Have they spent $1?
Yeah, you beat me. Yeah, I don't think they have. And so it's there's also this weird, the whole Bally thing in the RSNs is also kind of creating a cloud. It sounds like some teams are trying to cut payroll, some teams are kind of not sure what they're wanting to do. So that's kind of part of this. I expect the Reds still to do something else. I don't know how much more they're going to do, but I mean, these guys aren't going to want to get to the end of January and not have a deal, especially the ones that have more leverage from the player side. Like they want to be able to figure out, are they going to Florida? Are they going to Arizona? They want to start getting their house. They want to kind of know what's going on. So, I mean, it's running out of time. I mean, I was just thinking the other day, we're like 2 months and 4 days away from spring training games. As wild as that is, it comes quick throughout the offseason.
So it was 2020, right, when the Reds spent all that money. It was right before the COVID year when they added in Shogo Akiyama and Mike Moustakas and Pedro Strop, and Castellanos ended up being a really bright spot with three guys that didn't really help the team at all. Really through last year with Moustakas' contract. But since then, I would say definitely the biggest offseason. Before then, it would have been the biggest offseason, for a decade before that or whatever. So it's been quiet, but you add in a bat like Jeimer Candelario, and I mean, he's big time bat. 20-something home runs, 70 RBI last year, a plus 800 OPS. I mean, he could play, no doubt about it. He can hit. You add him to an already crowded infield. You allow potentially Steer / India / maybe both to definitely Steer to left field, maybe India to right field. You have some options to where you can mix things up, but it still seems like something is going to have to be done because there's the log jam in the infield with Nick Lodolo. I don't know about you guys. I'm not counting on anything from Nick Lodolo this year. So you have to fill that spot in the rotation where the Reds need a 2 or a 3 that can be reliable. They still need Hunter Green to step up and be a consistent one. They need Abbott to replicate what he did last year or be even better. So they need a lot of things to really be a complete team this year. But I'd say trending in the right direction. They're spending some money this offseason, and they got players that can help you. That's the only thing you can do, right? One step at a time. Move up.
Yeah, you bring up something that we've talked about obviously at length before in regards to what is the next step for many of these guys that are fringe prospects, borderline big leaguers, right? We've seen them play relatively well at the big league level, and then we've also seen at times them look like rookies and prospects. Will Benson's a wild card, I mean, he really is. That guy, he's as likable as they come. I will say that, and I think that he's got the opportunity to be one of the most beloved Reds within the next 4 to 5 years if he plays well because of just his personality and also the style of play. I think a style of play lends itself to being exciting. But if you told me right now that guy would be an all-star next year, I wouldn't put up a significant amount of money to bet against it. But if you told me he was completely out of the big leagues and he was never going to get back to the big leagues ever again, I wouldn't put a sizable amount on that either. He's one of the few guys where I just don't have a hard stance on. But there are a decent number of those guys, to your point, Chuck. And I guess now the question becomes, what do the Reds actually believe behind closed doors? And I think that they did with the Candelario move for sure is build a little bit of depth on that infield just because they're expecting maybe one of those guys to regress. And as Nick's going to say it before I might get done talking, is that someone's probably going to get hurt or there'll be injuries, and that will ultimately lead to depth issues, and we'll try to go from there. But anything else to add here, Nick, from I guess the season as it was, and then before I guess we'll transition to kind of what we have left for the offseason, questions that we may have about this team, thoughts, things of that nature?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, there's still a lot of offseason left. If you think back to like Charlie was talking about the big offseason, Moustakas was signed on December 2nd. Wade Miley was December 16th. Shogo Akiyama was January 6th. And Nick Castellanos was January 27th. So, I mean, half of the Red signings that offseason was after the new year. So I'm curious to see if there's maybe a starting pitcher that is the Nick Castellanos version this offseason that maybe falls to the Reds. Like I think Nick Castellanos signs with the Reds at the end of January because he kind of had felt through everything, and the Reds were the best offer, but the Reds weren't going to overextend to get him. I wonder if maybe there'll be a starting pitcher that kind of fits that mold.
What about Marcus Stroman? Is that a name that you would be intrigued by?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially since he's probably looking for a shorter term deal. The weird thing is that we haven't heard any traction at all about Stroman, where we heard so much about all these other guys. I just wonder if that's maybe a situation where Marcus Stroman, he's younger than a lot of these other free agents, and he's clearly looking for a short-term deal to reestablish his value. And I just wonder if he really has that much interest in the Reds pitching a Great American Ballpark. A ballpark I don't think he's pitched all that well in over his career to kind of reestablish his value. But from the Reds' perspective, yeah, absolutely. I'd jump on that as soon as you could. But I don't know if the Reds would be a realistic player without going so far overboard to try to get him.
Yeah, one point I want to make too is I think that everybody was sitting around and thinking that Ohtani was gonna, not that he was gonna set the market, but he was going to kind of get the ball rolling when it came to some of these free agent signings. And I don't say everybody was waiting on that deal to get done, but there was some big spenders, right, that were all trying to land that big fish. And when they weren't able to do it, then it leaves them with money to spend. So your Cody Bellingers, for instance, like they're not going to sign anywhere until that deal gets done because they're inevitably thinking that they're going to reap the benefits of another team maybe stretching themselves a little bit more than they would have prior to thinking they were going to or not going to get Ohtani. And I guess my point to that is that I think we're at a situation now where my guess is there's franchises that obviously missed out on Ohtani that were hoping to get him, and there was a short list. Yes, we know who they are. But I also think these franchises are like, well, that's Ohtani. You know, you're Cody Bellinger. Like, this isn't there's not a market to be set here. This is a one-off type guy. So I think as soon as the dam breaks, though, it's going to start moving. Like, if you get my point. Like, as soon as we start to get into these higher end level free agents, I think that you're going to see some moves be made relatively quickly because it's just like labor negotiations, unfortunately. When you know that you have time to negotiate in the back of your mind, you always act like you have leverage, and then all of a sudden everybody waits till the very last moment, and then everybody realizes, wait, maybe I don't have the leverage I thought I had. Let's hurry up and try to get a deal done. Hopefully that explains where I think that this whole offseason has gone for people that are like, well, it's been boring. I think it's been boring because of circumstances, not because teams aren't trying to make moves. I think you got two sides trying to negotiate deals, and unfortunately, we're going to be waiting a while. Stroman's a guy that if he didn't play for the Cubs, I would have probably been way more excited, and especially the way that he ended the season. And I know I shouldn't feel that way. It shouldn't matter at all, but my fandom gets in the way sometimes of that.
He was getting ready for a nice payday before he got hurt. I mean, first half of the season, he was as good as anyone in baseball. And then second half wasn't good before he got hurt. Probably had something to do with him being hurt. I think it was maybe blisters for a minute there. And yeah, man, I don't know if the Reds would be serious players for him. He obviously is a big personality. You got to have the guys in the locker room to fit in with him. I mean, that's such a big thing, especially with a team like the Reds where all these guys seemingly came up together. There's a lot of team chemistry. I mean, Stroman's as outspoken as anyone in baseball. He'll go out there and tell it how it is. So,
yeah. I don't even want to say it because I think some people will get upset by me saying is that I don't think the Reds are in a position where they have to stretch themselves either. Like, and I get people are going to want to kick my teeth in when I say that. He is just like, I'm not even trying to plead the next year thing. I'm just trying to say, realistically speaking, I don't think that anybody, and when I say anybody, I mean anybody, that you could Nick Krall, and I'm not trying to say Nick Krall doesn't know what he's doing. Nobody knows what this team has. Nobody knows. We don't have hardly anybody that you could sit there and say, I know for damn sure I'm getting X out of this player.
I'll tell you one guy I think you're getting X out of, and it's a positive X. I think TJ Friedel's pretty consistent, man. I mean, even throughout his minor league career, his days playing at Nevada, like, he's always been a damn good baseball player. So, I don't know what you're going to get from Ellie. I don't know what you're going to get full time from Encarnacion Strand and Noelvi. I think McLean at this point has shown that he's going to be a pretty consistent baseball player for a long time. But I think TJ Friedel at center field, maybe in that leadoff position, he's a steady hand. He's a nice guy to build around, that you're not, paying that much money, that no one looks as like the catalyst of the Reds, but he's a nice player, man.
Hey, they always say on this show we're not that we're too optimistic. I don't think that's some people say that, but overall opinion of this show, I would like to think that we're somewhat level-headed. Quick pessimistic viewpoint, though. Not that we want to do this all the time, but I'll just do something really fast. One player that you think is most likely to regress. I have one specifically in mind. I'll let you guys go first. I'm going to say mine no matter what, but hopefully you don't take mine. Go ahead, Nick.
Spencer Steer.
Okay. Charlie?
I'll double down for my Will Myers from last
Chuck?
year.
I got to call you Chuck, too. The lower third is just throwing me off, man.
Hey, what are you doing, Kirby? My mom calls me Charlie. Anyways, I would go. I was thinking Spencer Steer, but now I got to go with someone else. I would say the most likely scenario would be Benson. As Trace mentioned, like, I love the guys that have the talent, and that's why they were, first, second round picks and were big time prospects in their day. They don't figure it out the first couple of years, and then all of a sudden they're that ripe age of 25, 26 when players start to come into their own, and they have a season. I feel like it can go one of two ways. So Benson was great last year. I would not be stunned if, he played in 9-10 games this season and we didn't hear much of Will Benson. But at the same time, like Trace said, he's got the tools and the talent to be an all-star. But with what he did last year, I would say, aside from Steer, who was going to be my pick, that would probably be the most likely one. I'm thinking pitchers, unless we went into the relievers. I would probably say Steer/Benson.
Mine is going to be Alexis Diaz. I think Alexis Diaz is the biggest worry that I have, and I really hope that the Reds find themselves in a position where they can get one more solid reliever. What that will take, I don't know, but it just scares me. And the reason it scares me is because he's such a big chase rate guy. Like if guys just stop swinging. And I know me and Nick sometimes when we're doing these live streams, it's like, this guy's throwing like 99 to 102 with a nasty hook, and he throws a ball like every 3 pitches. So let's maybe see if he just walk you instead of swinging. And sure enough, these guys can't lay off of it, and they swing at 3 balls inevitably over the course of their at-bat and strike out. I feel like that's what Diaz is. And I'm not saying that he can't figure it out and throw more strikes, but that's my biggest concern I have. But anyway, what are you going to do? Any more moves, Nick? Do you feel like there's any more moves? You want to put an over-under on it? There's definitely going to be at least one more move, right? That's a fact. It's a matter of when.
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's probably 2 still major league players the Reds sign. I'm looking at like one of the big boards, and there's still 19 of the top 30 free agents still on the board. So kind of what you were saying earlier, Trace, once there's maybe 3 or 4 of these that go off the board in a couple days, and then maybe teams start feeling a little bit more pressure, it might really all kind of ramp up at once. But, a guy that I see sitting there, Jordan Montgomery, I wonder if maybe he's not getting the deal that I didn't think when the offseason started, the Reds would have a chance at him, but I wonder if maybe he's not getting as much money as he wants. Maybe teams are like, he was the best case scenario, and they're kind of, pulling back a little bit. I wonder if maybe he could come back to the Reds. Maybe some more realistic targets still, like Lucas Giolito still on the board. He's a perfect bounce back buy low candidate. I'm all about the buy low guys. And then one guy that's really low on most lists, had a ton of injuries, but he has some really good like peripheral numbers that I kind of like. You might be able to get him. He's a veteran guy, James Paxton.
Okay.
I'm not a lot of money, but if he could be a guy that you maybe add in, and yeah, he's injury prone, but so what? I mean, if he spends half the year on the IL and he gives you a couple starts here and there, and he helps fill out your rotation and give you those extra starts that we think the Reds are going to need, as they have a lot of other younger pitchers, a lot of guys that are optionable. He could be a guy that maybe would make sense for the Reds.
I like Montgomery, man. I like Montgomery. Paxton, yeah, if you could squeeze him in there somehow, have 3 or 4 better pitchers than Paxton and squeeze him in there as your 4 or 5, and then maybe platoon him with Martinez when Martinez gets some starts, when inevitably Paxton does get hurt, because like you mentioned, he can be frail from time to time. But yeah, I thought he had a nice little bounce back season last year. He was on the dingers and deadlifts, paying homage to the once great manager Gabe Kapler. My fantasy team last year, he was up and down all year, as was Martinez. But Paxton, yeah, he had some pretty decent games last year. I wouldn't hate it.
Based off mannerisms, Chuck, it appears that you are not a fan of Giolito.
No. I watched a few of his games once he got traded to the Angels, just to see how that deal went down. And the Angels they got fleeced by the White Sox, because they get Giolito. They lose like 10 straight games, so they're already out of it, by the time they have a second to breathe after that trade. And they gave up Kai Bush, who's an unreal left-hander, and then Edgar Cairo, I think, who was their top catching prospect. And they traded those two guys for a rental of Giolito and then sent him to the waivers. I mean, whoever's with the Angels making those decisions, Kirby, you probably know that name off the top of your head. You shouldn't know his name, because he stinks. He stinks at his job. That was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Carry on.
I'm pretty sure they cleaned house at the end of the year. I don't know. I haven't kept up
I
on my
would hope.
Angels, but that's got to be one of the worst trades in the history. No, we were very anti-Giolito at the trade deadline, and we were dead right on that one. We'll take credit for that. But I don't. When you're not giving up prospects and you're just talking bringing a guy on a 1-year, $10 million deal, that's just money. It's just you're throwing away. You're taking a shot at a guy that definitely has the potential. If you look at some of his peripheral numbers. Last year, he probably should have been closer to an average pitcher than a god-awful pitcher like he was. So I don't know. I wouldn't, he does strike out a lot of guys, but.
Yeah. You know who I'd like that hasn't really had a great career, and he's not that young anymore. He's now 27, but him and Hunter Green, if this guy figured it out, if they were 1-2 at the top of the rotation, you'd get some absolute gas. White Sox. You know who I'm talking about? Michael Kopech. He's always been intriguing. Yeah. He may just be not great. Had some issues when he was in the minor leagues, with some temper tantrums, things like that. But he had a couple good years, 21-22, 3.5 ERA, big time strikeout pitcher, brings up the gas. You get him and Hunter Green on the same page, a little 1-2, a little number one, I should say, a tandem of number ones, throwing the old fastball. I wouldn't hate it, but I don't know. Who do you even trade to get him? Are they willing to deal him? Does the chat like him? Because that's obviously crucial. If the chat doesn't like him, we're out. We're out on Kopech. But I saw him a lot back in the day. He's got some good stuff.
Well, Chuck, it's funny. Our guy Reds in 4 is a huge Kopech guy, and is always one of the Reds that. And he's our pitching guru around here. So yeah, I again, if you can get these guys at a low price, why not? I'm very much in favor of the Reds getting as much pitching as they can, sorting it out in spring training. Your entire pitching staff starters have options. If you have to send a good pitcher down to AAA for a couple weeks until someone gets hurt, that's what good teams do. That's what the Los Angeles Dodgers do. They send pitchers that are big league caliber pitchers to AAA in April and May, and then when they have an injury, they're calling them up. They're not calling up guys that have no business making starts in the big leagues. I think you need 8, maybe 9 starters to get through a year. maybe it's sometimes even more. The Dodgers needed like 13 last year.
Well, I think that you guys are kind of forgetting something important, and that is that the Angels, they won the trade deadline last year, and they got a grade. So I'll read it for those that might not have gotten the chance to read this beautiful article written by CBSSports.com last year. But it says, once the Angels decided to keep Shohei Ohtani, they went into buy mode. That approach netted them Lucas Giolito, Ronaldo Lopez, CJ Cron, Randall, who the hell knows, Dominic Leone. The Angels' capacity to upscale was limited by a weak farm system, but we think they did about as well as they could have reasonably expected as patching over some holes on their roster. If and when Ohtani leaves, they'll need to reset anyway, so why not take their chance? Grade A. Now that is big league.
Is that our Randall that you're talking about? Is that Grishuk?
If you're asking me to out the guy that wrote that, I don't know if I should do that.
No, he's asking you the
player. Yeah, Grishuk. Yes, sorry. I thought you said, I didn't hear what you said. I thought you were asking me who wrote the damn thing.
Oh, no, you're good. We should out him though on the air though, because that's deserving of being ridiculed. That's deserving of being ridiculed.
I pulled it up. Should we out the guy?
Sure, go ahead. What's his name?
Shout out R.J. Anderson. You know who
you're
never?
An idiot, R.J. You're an idiot. All right, go ahead.
Do you know who never gets a good grade at the deadline? Is the teams that stand pat, and it's the teams that stand pat deserve a lot better grade than whatever the hell the Angels got.
I thought the Reds got an A last year. I mean, they could have gone out there and gotten aggressive and thought, maybe we can make some moves this year. But I think all the real Reds fans kind of saw the writing on the wall that the team was playing out of their mind. Best case scenario, they sneak into a wild card. And granted, you could go Phillies mode. You can win a World Series out of the wild card. Who's to say you can't? But the Reds staying pat, keeping the prospects, and now entering this year with decisions to make and good decisions, trading guys that you have a plethora of at certain positions for guys that you may need. That's the old good problem to have. And Krall will figure it out. Let's get crawled, boys. Let's get crawled this holiday season.
As long as it's not Mike Minor.
Oh God, that was bad. What was worse? Mike Minor as Drupal Cabrera.
As Drupal Cabrera, because Mike Minor meant nothing because the Reds lost 100 games that year and he was a warm body. As Drupal Cabrera was legitimately trying to help the Reds get into the playoffs that year.
He was like 0 for what? 0 for 36 to start. I mean, God, that's a curtain call after your first hit at Great American Ballpark in front of about 6K. Good Lord. He was a nice little player too, but his Reds career, it'll go down there with the likes of was Junior Spivey a Red for a minute? Maybe like Junior Spivey and Quentin McCracken. I mean, not great to say the least.
All right, Nick, anything else to add before we inevitably get into the knee-deep questions that will be?
Yeah, Charlie, what was your we were kind of talking earlier today, some ideas for the show tonight. What was your favorite memory of 2023? Maybe your favorite game, moment, something that stands out to you?
It was just the transition of trust. It was just the sell the team Bob talk going into the Ellie De La Cruz mania and the three-headed monster coming up and then bringing up Marte. Like, it was the first time in a couple of years, because I think we all saw it in 2020 that we thought there was a core there before, a lot of them were traded, and it didn't end up, in hindsight, it was not the core whatsoever. It would have been an awful mistake had they kept them, and they made some great trades, but it felt like, this thing's turning. The tide's turning. There's really no way that ownership can screw this thing up. I mean, you get three guys coming up at once that you see stardom in all three of them, and great flashes. And then you look at your potential ace. It's Hunter Green, who's going out there, 7 innings, 14 strikeouts, 1-run baseball on 3 hits. Granted, he's not doing it a ton, but when you see someone do that, you know that he has superstar potential. And it went from, these days are dark, and Kirby was one of the few out there. I mean, everyone was wearing the paper bags on their heads. Sell the team, Bob. They had the little Congo line before the season of about 9 people down there saying sell the team. And Kirby said, not so fast, guys. Get your licks in now. I'm pretty sure this is a direct quote. Get your licks in now because the Cincinnati Reds are coming for you, folks. And they came. They came. Jesus, they came. They came, everyone. The Reds came.
That was at Reed Mouse. That quote was at Reed Mouse.
That it was. I remember it well, right before opening day. And listen, you can't win sometimes because there's going to be a certain group of fans that are somewhat right that, you know, they won 82 games. Are we supposed to sit here and act like they won the World Series? I don't know. But for a team that was supposed to win 64 and a half, to win 82 is you obviously don't want to look at anything objectively if you don't think that last year was a major success. So we'll see if they can't continue to capitalize on it. And I will say before we move on here to chat questions, I think it's just as likely that this team wins 73 games as they do to win 95, or not even 95. I'd say 90.
I think so much of what happens in the Reds in 2024 is what happens with the rest of the division. Because I feel like if the division's competitive, it's going to be a lot harder to win. But there's a lot of teams kind of like the Reds that could really, your season could go multiple different ways. How good are the Pirates next year? I've said I think that team is sneaky good.
The Pirates stink, and they have stunk my entire life. I came out of the womb with the Pirates sucking, and they've sucked almost every year since. But, I mean, hey, the Cardinals are at the very bottom, so you may be right there. Maybe the tides are turning. Here come the Reds and the Buccos.
I would not be shocked if it's the Reds and the Pirates fighting for the division. But it also depends, like, what are the Brewers doing? There was an article today, I think it was in The Athletic, talking about the Brewers. And they're all the writing on the walls, and the Brewers are going to go into sell mode. Are they going to go into sell mode before this offseason's over? Are they going to go into sell mode in the middle of the season? Or are they going to ride out the whole 2024 season? But they're going to sell because all their players are at the end. All their good players like Corbin Burns, and Freddie Peralta and Willie Adames are at the back end of their arbitration. They're starting to cost more. And the Brewers, they've never paid enough to be able to retain all those guys. So if they sell, I mean, that completely changes the division in some ways for the Reds. So I think it's as much about the rest of the teams as it is about the Reds.
I want to apologize to Gritchick's family, by the way. I didn't know that. I mean, this guy's played in the big leagues for, I don't know, almost 9 years now. Looks like 10. So he'll get
Randy's
paid.
Randy's had a nice stretch. Yeah, he's had a nice stretch.
Yeah, I mean, nice is a nice word to use too. I mean, he's going to get a pension maybe from the MLB. So that's that. I mean, that's winning if you want to call it that.
Former first-round pick, over 20 home runs 4 times, over 30 home runs once. I mean, hey,
played for the USA national team too.
Yeah,
16
191 home runs. That's a heck of a career, Trace. I'll take that any day of the week.
Hey, that's a damn good career. I'm not downplaying that.
The funny thing about Gritchick is you might remember at that waiver deadline thing that came up, or teams trying to claim everyone. Gritchick was one of those names out there with Bader and Renfroe, and Gritchick went unclaimed. And what does Gritchick do? He actually had a 800 OPS in September and actually played pretty well down the stretch for the Angels. Just no one claimed him though. He went completely unclaimed, and the other guys did, and the other guys didn't pan out.
Pressure wasn't on though. The pressure wasn't on, Nick. The pressure wasn't on. It's easy to sit out. It's easy to sit out in LA and play well when you got nothing to lose. Not trying to defend Bader or anyone like that, but you go to a new city. There's expectations. A little different.
I looked up an AI to see who the Reds were going to start this year. It's Encarnacion Strand, it's McLean, it's Ellie De La Cruz, it's Marte, it's Spencer Steer, it's Friedel, it's Tyler Stevenson, it's Jake Fraley, and at the designated hitter position, it's Randall Grishick. So there we go, baby. Randall.
Who knows? How many of those guys are there in Major League Baseball? That just
Randall Grichuk's?
Yeah, I mean, it's just. I got to be honest. I only
There's
bring
only
that
one.
up. I only
There's only one.
there's
There may
only
only be one
I
Randall
only bring
Grichuk
that
in the
up because
world.
my brain thinks to myself, this guy might hit 200 home runs in Major League Baseball, and I don't care what anybody says, and you might think that I'm crazy, but if Chuck and Nick were at the grocery store standing next to each other trying to find some popcorn, and this guy walked up and he was looking for some popcorn, they would just help him get some popcorn. They would have no idea that who he was. Now,
I'd tap on Kirby and I'd say, "Hey, look, it's Ryan Braun." That's what I would say after looking at Randall Grichuk.
I think that guy played for the Rockies. That goes for a
Is
lot
that
of people.
Ryan Braun? Yeah.
No. Anyways. All right. Anything else to get to, Nick? You're the man here, man of the hour.
Trace, you got a favorite memory from last season?
I mean, there's a few that popped to mind immediately, and one of them I'm not proud about. I'm not proud about the Ricky Karcher outing. Listen, that's the one that pops to my mind every time I think about it because that was the catapult. That is what like you started to believe. I started to believe that it was destiny. I'm watching Kurt Casale look like a damn hockey goalie out there. I mean, he's all over the place. You couldn't possibly be a major league pitcher and not have a clue in the world where the baseball was going more than Ricky Karcher did out in Colorado. Like it is literally impossible. So
I mean, from that one game alone, Ricky Karcher is more of a household name to Reds fans than like Ryan Ludwig, Lance Nix, guys that, like legit had a role for a minute with the Reds. And Ricky Karcher, I mean, there are probably some Ricky Karcher jerseys out there. I don't think there are any Lance Nix or Ryan Ludwigs.
Yeah, that was that's just one of those games you'll never forget. Like you could 10 years from now, I think if you're talking to a Reds fan, you remember the Ricky Karcher game, they'll probably remember it.
Probably. Listen, it's got to be the Braves game. I mean, that's probably the one that I would say, hey, that's an all-timer, man. I mean, the emotion swings that were in that game. I mean, people talk about that game and they'll obviously bring up Ellie, but like people forget Joey Votto. That was a huge home run, and I'm not saying people forgot about it, but in a way, like there was just so many big plays in that game.
He had two, did he?
Yeah, had two. That's what he did. I mean, I'm not trying to get down a soapbox here about Joey, but like Joey came out the gates hot.
Oh, that Reds Live was so electric. I would have lost my job 1,000% if I was doing that post game. I would have been shirtless up there with Welsh. She would have been, let's go. That was crazy, man. That and not a lot of teams do that. I know the Dodgers hide their set. It's kind of Angels too hide their set. I've seen Cubs do it in studio. Giants do it in studio. Like not many teams do the live post game shows like that, and it probably shouldn't because as a host you can't hear anything. People are screaming, banging on that Coke rail that they thought was a smart idea to put there in front of a set, but makes for good TV. I mean, you never know what's going to happen.
We need them to be the Dodgers and be super boring. So take away the competition.
Do you have one? Did you already say or what?
Well, I wasn't gonna say the Braves one just because I legitimately think that might be a top 5 Reds game in my lifetime. I mean, I think when you look back, I think it's gonna be up there. It was just an incredible game, and it was the 12th win in a row on top of that. It would have been a great game, just standalone. I tell you, those 2 games against the Cubs in September, like where the team just looked absolutely I don't want to say lifeless because I know like they were all playing hard and all those kind of things. I think when people say that, I think it's so silly, but it felt completely like there was no life, and then they just pull these 2 wins in a row in the 9th inning, the Martini game. That was a lot of fun. Those 2, and then the CES walk off against the Blue Jays. That was one of those kind of just wow moments. Chat, what's your favorite? What was your favorite game? Any ones that we missed?
Yeah,
Any
Molly
obscure
mentioned
ones?
obviously Benson's walk-off. Yeah, David mentions the walk-off as well.
Was Ellie's cycle and that Braves comeback same? No, that wasn't the same game. Was that the same series?
That was the same.
That was the same game.
It was the same game?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Top 5,
12th
Nick.
win-
That, like, I mean,
12th win in a
Jesus.
row. Cycle. Votto hits 2 home runs. They come back from 3 runs down. They were down like multiple times in that game.
Correct.
It's just an insane baseball game.
Forgot that was the same game. Knew it was the same
Yeah.
series. Damn.
Yeah, I was gonna. Randy brings up something in the chat that I'm not even gonna bring up for the sake of our podcast listeners. But I was thinking, hey, what's your least favorite game of the year? And I immediately knew what everyone's answer was, and we don't really even need to talk about it. It was a Saturday in Cincinnati, and that was for the whole top 5 game of our lifetime. That was maybe. I can't say it's the bottom one because we all know the bottom one, at least for me in my life, happened in 2012. But yeah, Pittsburgh's not bad, Chuck. Let's not make fun of them, okay? Let's be careful about poking the bear. I'm telling you, Pittsburgh's a pretty damn good team. Now,
Yeah, I'll poke the bear all I want. I'll poke all you Pittsburgh fans. I'll go on Facebook. I'll poke your groups. I don't give a damn. Pittsburgh stinks. I mean, how many prospects do you have to get before you can finally figure it out? And granted, we can't talk much. I'm wearing a red shirt. We haven't been great in recent years. But, I mean, the Pirates have just been a cellar dweller for so damn long. I mean, it's like synonymous. You ask anyone out there, hey, who's the worst franchise in sports? And, I mean, Pittsburgh's got to be brought up, right? I'm trying to think of any NFL teams that may stack up to the Pittsburgh Pirates, but I mean it would be one of those expansion teams. But Pittsburgh's been doing it for a minute now, and they've been losing for a long time. I mean, Cardinals have been a playoff team, I think, or at least had a plus 500 record. I think like 29 of the 31 years of my life. I bet Pittsburgh's damn near 25 of the 31 years of my life last place. Like, I don't know if that's a stretch. 25 at 31.
yeah, I hear you. If we wanted to go down the path of the other ones that were frustrating, listen, this team, the Brewers, were just that was a frustrating team to play. I mean, how many times did we feel like, oh my gosh, like we're right there. We're right there. Let's just kick the door in, boys. Let's kick the door in. And they would just go and lose 2 or 3, get swept by these bastards. And you know what? It wouldn't even be like a good sweep either. It'd be like lose 1-0, lose 2-1, lose 5-2, go home. You scored 3 runs in the series. Hope you feel better.
Christian Yelich would outscore you with 2 swings of the bat. It was
not
that.
that.
Was
What's and I can't. I'm not very obviously good with names. Who's their 3-hole who hit like $125 until he played the Reds, and then he inevitably hit 3 home runs? You know who I'm talking about, Nick. The chat's gonna know. I mean, the guy literally got what? No.
Adames?
Oh, on the Brewers.
Brewers. Yeah.
Their catcher killed us,
Yes.
but he had a good year.
I'm gonna dig it up here.
Adames had a bad year and killed the Reds. Adames was very good. William Contreras had a good year though. That Sal Frelick guy had a couple games. My low would be Friday, October 4th against the Washington Nationals. That I have no idea what the hell David Bell was doing in that game. There was like 5 moves that just did not make sense at all. That was a rough one. Trace, you got the night off on that one.
I do remember you. I can't believe it. I seen it on the X.com. You were openly upset at David Bell. I could not believe my eyes. I actually double checked it.
You guys deserve all the success you're getting with doing that for an entire season. I mean, the Bearcat shows are hard enough. I was talking, we got Stetson on Friday night, and God forbid, Stetson on a Friday night. I can't imagine, what Kirby was thinking on a Friday night as the kids are like, Dad, we want to go get some cotton candy at the fair. Not now. We got to get ready for a blown 14-run lead to the Pirates, or however many. What was the final tally on that blown lead against Pittsburgh?
It was 9-0.
Trace, do you have YouTube up? Do you have the chat up?
No. What?
What a legend.
What?
We're
Ethan.
what? How many bucks are we away from firing Reed?
Holy Mankies. Ethan, man. Ethan.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Ethan. What do you want me to say to that? Do I even see Ethan in the
Thank
chat a
you.
whole lot? Did Ethan? I mean, am I just blind? I mean, I know sometimes like the chat just moving and it's hard to look over there. But like Ethan, I don't see Ethan's name a ton. Is this dude just coming in here, a la Carton, one super chat saying thanks like that?
It says
Oh,
first
yeah.
super chat, but I think we've seen Ethan a little bit. But man, that's coming in with a banger. I guess I'll read it. I feel like we should.
Well, yeah,
we should
definitely.
probably read that.
I'm illiterate, so go ahead.
All right, got a super chat for the Christmas vibes. A question request: more banana phones next season on X Twitter. Love the show and really appreciate the work you guys put in. Merry Christmas. Yeah, Ethan. I love that. Thank you so much. Trace, we're gonna kind of talk a little bit about this with the
Right,
2024
as well.
plans. But I know for the Chatterbox Reds group, we're hoping to do. I think we're gonna try to do 2, like Zoom style calls with the folks that want to get in, where we just hang out for an hour and talk Reds baseball and all that kind of stuff. We'll also probably try to do some other stuff. So I'm definitely interested in, maybe doing maybe some afternoon spaces on Twitter. Yeah, I think we'll also probably, when we can, I feel like the banana phone worked well. We kind of got it down, and then we didn't have another like rain delay for like the rest of the year. I felt like after that, Trace. But
so we just purchased I purchased a number, 1-888-888 number, for the specific call-ins, and I was we're going to try to get ourselves in a position where we can all take call-ins, but I don't want to say it's super complicated, but it gets
That'll
complicated.
be so electric. Oh, uncensored Collins. Oh,
Yeah.
that's electric. We got to follow the community guidelines on YouTube, but
Yeah, well, there's dump buttons. We'll dump it as fast as we can. But anyways, don't call the number now because it won't do anything. But I do think we had a great. We scored an unbelievable phone number. It's 888-513-CBOX. So pretty easy to remember. I think. But anyways, the goal is to get some more some call-in features because we want to interact with as many people as we possibly can, have fun, be as I guess as level-headed or as entertaining as we possibly can be, while also providing some substance, some realistic thought process on what we're seeing. And as far as the 2024 plans, really quickly, we still do have some spots available for the Red season ticket group. I think that's probably going to be a point of emphasis where we kind of get people purchasing there. I don't say last minute, but that's usually how those types of things goes. We'll do another Chatterbox Reds night, perhaps. It just depends on where. I got to be honest with everybody about that. The Reds want you to pay for everything so far in advance. It's crazy. And I just got to be honest. I don't have like 15 grand just laying around for to rent the river deck out for some random game in July. So I'm going to let that, I'm going to do what some of these GMs are doing right now. I'm just going to wait a little bit. We're going to feel this out a little bit, and we'll let it trickle into the new year and see what we do about Chatterbox Reds night. But as far as the season ticket group, as a reminder, it is 4 tickets to 2 games, or it's 8 tickets, 4 tickets to 2 games for 8 tickets. I'm going to confuse the hell out of myself now. Or it's 2 tickets to 4 games. At the end of the day, you get 8 tickets. How about that? Just depends on how you want to use them. You automatically get into the group that guarantees you postseason tickets for face value. So take that for what it's worth. Hopefully we find ourselves in a position where we get a chance to. I know it didn't go well for the Orioles, guys, but I hope that happens for our city. I really do. I mean, that was electric. I don't know. Did you guys get a chance to see that? I know Nick probably did. Chuck, did you get a chance to see the Orioles when they they obviously inevitably failed, but I mean, that city was just fired up.
they've been waiting for a long time, man. they should celebrate. Yeah, you said the 8 tickets though. Can you get, if you want to go solo and paint yourself red, can you go 8 tickets? Or I'm confusing myself. 8 games, 1 ticket. Can you just go? Can you isolate?
That's not been a part of the plan, Chuck. But I will say, if that's the case,
put in the headphones, listen to the radio broadcast, scorebook, and everything. I mean, I could go old school every once in a while. Get some dollar dogs.
They're not $1 anymore. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, I know that. You could go to the all you can eat though, and right center field, and I would do that in between the pregame and the postgame show. Sometime I'd get those $20 all you can eat, grab myself a Coke, some popcorn, sit in the outfield, had an entire section all to myself. Who says having bad attendance isn't fun?
That's actually look. Can we be someone honest with ourselves right now? Bad attendance is a very
cool.
is a very very user friendly thing, right? I got to be honest.
Yeah,
it's incredible. We all know what you do. You buy some ticket to get in, and then you inevitably move down, and you just hang out. You go all over the place, sit wherever you want on a nice summer day.
You remember Synergy though? How hard it was to sneak down from the red seats to the blue seat. I mean, you had to be on a mission. You had to go with some Eddie George spin moves past those ushers to get down to the blue. I mean, to get down to the yellow where they had the play set. Oh my God, you had to know someone. But to get down to the blue, you had to go Mission Impossible. But yeah, nowadays you just walk right down. No one gives a damn. Front row, who cares?
If you carry food, no one will ever stop you. That's the key. Go get yourself a nacho. They're not going to stop you.
Last thing I want to say, the one way to know that the Reds are on the come up, you ready for it? They will not have, this isn't official, this is a guess. They are not going to do the 3-2-1 nights anymore. Right? Like they're going to be on the come up so much they don't need to do that anymore. Or do you think they'll still do that?
What exactly was the 3-2-1? I haven't been to a weeknight game in 10 years.
It was on Tuesdays. Now you're putting me on the spot here. I believe it was $1 ice cream.
Okay.
$2 dogs, $3 beers. Chat, help me out. Help me out, chat.
Over under 10K calories could you put down? I mean, that's basic work.
I mean, let's be real. The Reds could win 90 games next year, and they're still going to struggle with attendance on Tuesday nights. I think people don't realize, like, look back at the 2012 and 2013 attendance. Yeah, in the summer on the weekends, man, they were packed every weekend. But the weeknights, they weren't packing the stadium out. So I don't think it really changed it. The Reds are such a regional team. So many people that come to Reds games are from 4 hours away in Kentucky or West Virginia or, in Indiana, from Columbus. And like, it's just, that's a large portion of the crowd. So I really don't think it's going to change everything.
All right. Any parting thoughts? We can always do the fun what if for the over-under game to end the show. Lastly, I don't know if anybody did, but as a reminder, I'm trying to remind people, I said I would buy you a ticket to a Reds game if you guess the date in which Shohei Ohtani would sign with the Dodgers. Please, if you've done that, go ahead and remind me. If you haven't, then that's part of the reason why I made the game hard. It's because I didn't expect people to get it. But we can do another one if you'd like. Nick, you got anything else to add that's a good substance? Because I certainly don't. Chuck, he's knee-deep in Wes Miller basketball, which I got to be honest is a little disappointing. We won't get into that. And I guess
taking out some wins and losses.
My question is, Nick, do you have anything of great substance before I turn this into a dumb question before the show ends?
Yeah, I was just having a good time tonight, wrapping up the year, bringing on our guy Chuck. Chuck, are you gonna go to any games in at Wrigley this year? Go see the Reds?
I'll go to some games in Cincinnati. I'll go to some games in Milwaukee. I'll go to some games in Chicago. It's been a while since I've been in the Midwest for baseball season. Because even when I was doing the Reds, I was living in San Francisco.
We got to get you live on the phone outside the stadium after one of these games. That'd be electric.
Yeah, it would. They were actually, when I worked for CBS, they were going to get me for a live report on after the Bengals Super Bowl, and it ended up being so tense, and I got into an all-you-can-drink suite and had a little too many of those Crown Royals in the can, the Crown and Cokes, and I'm ready, and they're like, "You're not going on the air tonight, Chuck. Just enjoy the loss." I'm like, okay. So, yeah. So I don't know if you want me on the airwaves or not. After my first experience in Old Miller Park, American, yeah.
We have a much lower standard than CBS in San Francisco.
Hi, everybody! Welcome to the Great American Ballpark. Yeah, no, I'm down. Ask me anytime. I'll pull out the phone, VMix, and we'll do it. We'll do it live. Do it live, baby.
And in all sincerity, I will say this before I ask the dumb question we end the show. I'll try to not be mushy at all about this, but it was around this same time, maybe a little bit before this or after. I don't know. My brain anymore, really, quite frankly, doesn't fire on all cylinders like it once did. There's a lot of reasons for that. Drugs aren't one of them. Neither is alcohol, so don't worry about it. Don't worry about me. Just kids and life. That's how it goes. But from a sentimental perspective, I think it was around the same time that I was asking Nick to do something crazy and stupid, like go on after every single Reds game. You got to be different. You got to do something different if you want to get some kind of people to pay attention to what you're doing. You got to be interesting, those types of thing. And of course, in Nick Curry fashion, he was watching like, I don't know, Aristides Aquino play in the Dominican League or something. Who knows what the hell he was doing? And people are thinking that's a joke. No, that's a real thing. What was happening? He was actually doing that. Now, to be fair to him, I also do believe Ellie was playing on his same team, which was maybe part of that. I don't want to throw you completely under the bus, Nick, about you watching Dominican League baseball for Aristides Aquino. But I digress. It's been a hell of a run. It's been a hell of a journey. It's not stopping anytime soon. We have obviously many more plans from Chatterbox perspective as we go forward, and we're going to continue to try to figure things out as we go and get better each and every year. And hopefully at some point, this ship continues to get a little bit bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And at some point, we find a way to make this all make sense for everybody. And listen, I can't tell you how enjoyable it is to I know we don't know each other per se, but we get to see each other in the chat. We get to interact with each other. We get to have fun. And it feels like I know a good amount of people that obviously I wouldn't have otherwise if we didn't do this show. So thank you from our family, if you will, at Chatterbox for supporting us and continuing to say nice things. And for those that say bad things, I really like those people too, because as I have always heard and I've always been told, if you don't have haters, you ain't popping. And we got some haters too, and I like that. So without further ado, because that's how I say it. Now I know it's without further ado is the way you're supposed to say it, but I've said farther for so long now that I'm going to stick with it. The dumb question of the night. If you get this right, I will buy you a Reds game, 2 tickets, or 1 if you're like Chuck and you want to go to the game by yourself. You got to get the specific day exactly on when the Reds, not when they sign or none of that, but when it's reported as official, and we can consider it official by a real journalist. I don't know if that's a right way to go about it, but if it breaks, everybody knows about it. It's a kind of an official thing. We're going to go off that day, not the day 3 weeks later when Candelario actually signs. That seems not as fun. If you get the day exactly right for the Reds' next move, I'll get you tickets. Nick, go first on the day. I'll go second. We're going to end it with our guest, Chuck, and then we're going to tell everybody.
And chat does not count. It has to be a physical comment once the stream ends.
Correct. Comment when the stream is over, people. We're going to end it right now, so be patient. Let the thing end, and then comment the date. Thank you.
Yes, chat will not count. I'm gonna say January 11th.
January 11th. I am going to go with January 16th. Chuck?
I'm going to go with, I think they're going to be slinging deals on a Friday, December 22nd.
Let's go. Let's go.
Woo-hoo-hoo! I hope you're right. That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
I wouldn't
But
mind.
this, I'll
That'd be-
tell you what,
that'd be nice to end the
it would be
holidays.
really cool, but it better be a big deal. And the reason it better be a big deal is because if we're going to go live right after it, it better be a big deal. Because as planned, and you never know how plans go. Sometimes you get laughed at because you made plans and they just don't come to fruition because life has other plans. This is the last show of 2023. So happy New Year, but also a very Merry Christmas to everybody. Enjoy the holidays. I know the holidays for some, it's a tough time of year to a certain extent. There's a lot of variables that go into the holidays that I'm not naive about. So for all the people that watch this, try to keep your spirits high if that's the case for you. And if you have loved ones that you get to enjoy holidays with and Christmas with, cherish it, enjoy it as much as you possibly can. And as I've always said, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. If things get heated, just go find a TV somewhere else because politics, religion, all those things can wait. Just go find a TV, watch you some NBA basketball, do something. Just stay away from that. Try to enjoy yourself because Chatterbox won't be there to save you. We will not be on the air. So, but until next time, I'll say it once.
I'll be talking about Stetson. All right.
That's right. Yeah, Chuck will be talking about Stetson. Don't forget about that. Chatterbox Bearcats right after the game, baby. Chuck and Houdini. Chuck's a superstar, man. He knows it. I know it. Chuck's a superstar. He just needs the Bearcats to win some basketball games. We'll find out if they can.
Come on, Wes. Save me. We need viewership, Wes. Come on. This isn't just about the fan base. This is about the content creators, too.
That's right.
We need some W's. Go Reds, everyone.
Nobody knows that more than me and Nick. Let me tell you, we were planning on doing 162 of them, and if they weren't going to go the Reds' way, it was going to be a long year. But by God, by the grace of God himself, thank you, Jesus, right before Christmas, he came down and he allowed the Cincinnati Reds to be decent at baseball. And that's how many of you know us. All right, everybody. This is me. That is Nick, and that is our good friend Chuck. Signing off. One last time in our basements of all places.
Oh, get the party poppers out. I don't have any. Happy New Year, everyone. Merry Christmas.
All right, everybody. And as I do this, it's time to hit the outro. Love you. Take care.